back to you, Sam. Now, the Skross mantra is simply stated: simple, safe, and Swiss. Indeed, safety is actually pivotal to your business, but it seems to be that not all brands in the market quite operate to the highest level and fundamentally fail in safety, compliance terms. I mean, do you have any comment here, especially guidelines to what might actually help category buyers?
I don't think it's building a quality product is particularly difficult, to be honest. So our mantra, that's right, we call it triple S. So it's actually safe, simple, and Swiss. We put the Swiss at the end because this should just resume the whole thing. With Switzerland, you have an expectation of quality, and everything must be close to perfect.
And price.
And price. Well, that's where we try to be fair. So, but I believe it goes back to the point that we've mentioned before when it comes to life cycle of a product. Some brands and also certainly certain factories in Asia, they will just crank out products of their line now, and the time is more important than the quality. And ultimately, quality is equal safety when it comes to electrical. So I would say that because we are, at Skross, we are the only brand today, the only brand in the world that manufactures the core products itself. So that means we have engineering, all the technical people, product development, design is all in Switzerland. Yes, we manufacture in Asia. So our main factory, which is our previous majority shareholder, also a Swiss company, is based in Thailand. And all the Swiss Army knife type of adapters that are multifunctional, quite complex in terms of mechanics. So they are manufactured in-house. And every single product that we develop goes through testing. And it's either TUV in Germany, either it's DEKRA in Holland or China. So these labs follow very strict rules when it comes to quality assurance, safety, and norm testing. Now, electrical norms is not a very exact science, I have to say. So there's the Germans would have one interpretation. Now the Australians, on the other hand, a totally different interpretation, which doesn't make it easy. But because it's not easy, that's also one of our USPs when it comes to products. We design products specifically for the UK, as an example. We design products specifically for Switzerland, so that these products can only be sold in Switzerland because they correspond to certain norms. Now, all the other brands out there that compete in our sector of activity in the core business, so travel adapters and plugs, so they rely on the China source. And China source is based on price and volume, which by itself, it's not a bad thing because you get a good value, a good price, and it's important for the consumer as well. However,
and arguably it's a race to the bottom.
It's funny enough, we actually stopped that race with some of the retailers because we told them, to the argument I made before, it doesn't make sense that you sell the cheapest in the travel retail environment. And Steve pointed out very correctly, it's a distressed purchase. So that doesn't mean that you have to overcharge it, but be fair. A good quality product has its price. And I believe also that since we're the only one really manufacturing our products, so it's a trust element that we need to build. It's part of our the triangle I mentioned before. So the consumer must trust our brand. And we have very often a case of let's say an Australian flying from Heathrow via Dubai to back to Australia. He calls up and says, the fuse is out of my adapter. I say, well, we send the fuse from Switzerland to Australia just to make the client happy. So that happens every now and then. Now, with the trust of the consumers, one thing, trust with the operators, the retailers, it doesn't even matter whether it's travel retail, general retail, is the same. So they trust in us that we deliver products that's hassle-free and that doesn't come with a potential recall from the authorities selling that product you're not allowed to sell because it's against the norms and standards. So, and since we are also a manufacturer, it means that we manufacture for other brands. So, and there are certain brands, I'm not allowed to say here, but they actually have a little logo on the product that says powered or designed by Skross. For the very simple reason, because those brands, and these are A brands in the luggage area, for instance, they trust us much more than the Asian manufacturers, because they know when they sell a product in Germany, as an example, and the authorities look at the products, Oh yeah, that's a Skross version, so we're good.
So what should the buyers be looking out for to help them in terms of making their choices?
I think that's now, we spoke about the competences, and a little bit the know-how that the buyer needs to bring in. And I think, we do this for 25 years now, so our people in the office, they're absolutely pros, when it comes to certification, to the norms and all the different standards. And I would not expect the buyer to be on that level. But what can help is a simple email or phone call, and we do that free of charge, of course. That when people call us up, tell us, listen, I have this product, what do you think about it? And we can tell you, because the sources are usually the same, we can tell them within 2-3 minutes, this is not good, this is not good, this is not good. Or eventually, well, this is a safe product, just the overall aspect of design and quality is a little poor. But we do that quite a bit. So when we consult the buyers in safety and in a compliance manner.
Industry Bible. Interesting. But valid.
So you talked about how do you help the buyers?
Yeah.
And I think Skross 100% has been the supplier where buyers feel confident enough, if they have a working relationship with Skross, to say, I'm looking at this, I'm not sure about it, give me your view, all right? What we need to do as Skross over the next 12 months, we've got to focus on this quality position, but we've also got to focus on the education of what makes our product a quality product. So I'm really, really keen over the next certainly 6 months to talk about how many different parts go into our adapters. Why is it so complicated to produce a good quality adapter? It's not about getting a test certificate on day one. It's about having a product that still complies after you've produced 2 million units. And that's a very different scenario to most other offers out there. All right, a test certificate does not mean that full-scale production meets the standard. So, yeah, for me, next year is all about almost supplying checklists. A real sort of, idiots made guide easy of this is the questions you should be looking at. And these are the simple things that can tell you that product potentially has a compliance issue.
Yeah, I mentioned the point before, being the interface between travel accessories and tech. And it's exactly in the direction that you're going. So every year we do the big fours when it comes to consumer electronic shows. We start with CES in January. We go to Hong Kong in April. We do IFA in Germany. And then we go back to Hong Kong again in October. So these are the buying platforms, and also our communication platform with the big retailers, with the big OEM accounts, but also with the big distributors. So that's where we preach now certain messages in terms of quality compliance for the last 20 years. Now, it's a bit the communication exchange point of the know-how transfer. It's a preaching. Sometimes I feel like in church, give message out over and over and over again. I said
it's the Bible, didn't I?
Yeah, and it starts sticking with a lot of people. However, when buyers look at very simple KPI, I need it cheaper, and this is now the problem that we have very often, is that the unexperienced buyers who just look at KPI price, cheap purchase price and low retail price. Now, if they stick to these KPIs, you compromise on quality. You compromise on features. And that means you get a best deal that might look good for a short while on your balance sheet and on your retail, because you can run promotions for nothing. At the same time, you lose the vision and the focus on quality and design and branding. And I believe still that we at Skross, we try to maintain a very high level of brand recognition in that particular space. And this doesn't come with low price and low quality, of course.
Okay, Steve has mentioned this already, but staying ahead of the curve in terms of product development is unquestionably going to realise your ambition to be the #1 travel retail accessories brand. Now, your alliance with the Celluline Group has got to be of some real benefit here. Just explain how it helps.
I think Celluline for us was absolutely a lucky punch, I have to say. By joining forces, we got couple of things that we were missing. One is the force and the know-how when it comes to trade marketing, to retail management, but also on the innovation side, the speed of development, to having a whole host of opportunities in sources for certain products like power banks, cables, wall chargers that we of course we do not design ourselves outside of our core range. So, and our goal was always at Skross to be the first follower, right? So a company like Line has to be really on top of the wave of innovation. I mentioned before, if a new iPhone is launched, they must be ready at the day of launch. So because they serve some of the largest retailers in Europe, as an example, so at the day of the launch, the phone cases have to be in store. Cannot be a month later, because they will lose the sales, they will lose the retail space. In our case with Skross, it's a little bit different, so we can be the first follower, meaning that we look at the products that have an even shorter life cycle. So we take those that have a little bit longer life cycle, because with longer life cycle, there's another phenomenon that's important in our case, is price stability. If you have a charger for a phone, as an example, and you have the highest rating, let's say 100-watt charger right now, the price of the charger is like fresh fish, right? So it can vary 10-20% up and down, depending on the components. But in our case, we will take the technology that's already established, is now produced in bigger volumes, and then implement that in our products and make sure that there's a price stability over the next 12 to 24 months. And Line brings us this sort of life cycle understanding, also our own position. Where do we fit in the matrix of the position in terms of price, life cycle, and quality compared to all the other tech brands out there?
Okay, let's move on. Sustainability is another one of the cornerstones of your business. I mean, you do take a holistic approach though. So what actions are you taking?
Well, I think we make sure we have enough time to answer the question, because it's a very complex one. I guess there's a much deeper aspect when we look at sustainability. And within Skross, I came up with the very simple equation. So quality equal sustainability. So that means not just the quality of the product. Of course, a product that's in good quality will stay in use for a longer time. It's a quality of packaging. Packaging that rips off on the retail space, has been thrown away, the product's been wasted, has to be replaced. It's waste. It's not sustainable. It's operational things, logistics, for instance. It doesn't make any sense.
Entire supply chain.
The entire supply chain is a huge factor that people don't really fully understand, or maybe the consumer is not very clear about it. So by not giving us reliable forecasts, as an example, and we have to fly in tons of plastic in order to make sure the product's on the hook in the retailer, that's not sustainable. And funny enough, the same retailer asked us to get rid of plastic on a hook, so because it looks better on their ESG report. But that report doesn't reflect their efficiency in forecasting and get the supply into their warehouse.
But your core product itself is plastic.
It is plastic.
How do you deal with that? Where do you move to?
I think again, there's. Let's make the bridge to the quality and the compliance point again. So, if you use recycled plastic as an example, in certain instances will not fulfill the norms that are designed or given by the national standards. Meaning that you need to have, for instance, fire-resistant plastic for chargers. And the norms are very specific on that. And now to find recycled plastic that fulfill these exact norms, even though some people, again, back to Asia, some companies will just claim, well, we have a certification for that, we're good. As a matter of fact, they're not. So we have to be extremely cautious. By we, I mean even us, because we have made adapters with recycled plastic. So it's doable. We still have a big question marks in terms of safety and compliance. Now, I think retailers and other brands should not just jump on the wagon and say, well, we have a full range, it's all recycled. Sounds good. Again, it's a good story in sales, but at the same time, I'd be very skeptical when it comes to the safety side. And I believe that we would do it in a sense of being the first follower. Once we know that the standards are fit, well, also and Steve mentioned, if you produce 2 million products in a row, so that these 2 million products with sustainable materials can be fulfilled in a quality that we expect. That doesn't mean that we don't do everything else. As an example, we changed all the paper now to FSC. We are trying very hard to avoid any sort of air freight, if possible, even though we're still forced to do it because of bad forecasting. And we try also to make sure that we have, as an example, we use solar energy in our Swiss office. It's a lot of smaller initiatives that we can do.
They do add up. They do add up.
They do add up. And we also compensate with My Climate, which is an association that reinvests some money into various projects. I think we have 3 projects that we found actually, and also we're partner of the Sustainable Airline Fuel initiative, where companies try to develop more sustainable. What's the word? The artificial airline fuel. So we can do a lot of things, but I would remain that the core is really an operational element. The more efficient we are in terms of quality of services, quality of supply chain, quality of products, you have the biggest impact, both in cost but also in environmental protection.
So just drawing the threads together, gentlemen, if there are 3 things that you want to say to the industry, what would they be? Steve?
Keep sharing data with us. Obviously, the data tells us exactly what customers are doing and what we need to be doing in the future.
Sam?
Help us to build a bigger picture here. Make sure, not just by sharing data, but by being more efficient in the execution of brands, quality, sustainability. This is a joint exercise. It's not just something that we will do as a brand, but we can do together as an industry. And I think if we achieve that, I don't need a third point.
Gentlemen, thank you for your time.
My pleasure.
Thank you.